The Knicks and Rangers are in the second round of the playoffs, so this week, New York Post sports columnist Steve Serby caught up with a man who's been a play-by-play voice for both teams. That would be Kenny Albert. And now, Steve joins me for another edition of Sundays with Serby. There he goes, the man, the myth, the legend, Steve Serby. Steve, how you doing, man?
Doing great. How about you, Dex?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing well. Can't complain. We are moving.
Looking very sharp. Looking very sharp.
Look, I try. I did not bring flannel that I thought would appease you this week, but, I tried to look sharp today. I think I did a good job, so thank you, sir. You look well yourself. Appreciate that. Steve, so many people know Kenny, that he is the son of legendary broadcaster Marv Albert. How has being the son of a legend shaped his career and his style on the air?
Well, Kenny started at the age of 5 years old. His parents bought him a tape recorder, and he set up his room as if it were a studio. And over the years, he learned by osmosis, working stats for his father, Marv, noticing the preparation that Marv put in before every broadcast. What is it Yogi said? You can observe a lot by watching. Well, Kenny observed a lot and learned a lot, and he also marveled at how his father had interaction with his analysts. The chemistry that he had is something that Kenny has tried and succeeded to do. Kenny knows that the analysts are the experts, the stars, and his job is to set them up. And he does that tremendously, effortlessly. He jokes, he's worked with over 200 analysts over the years. He's the only play-by-play person for 4 major sports in the U.S. and Canada, current. So that's kudos to him. And he's just done a tremendous job. He's got a book out, by the way, A Mic for All Seasons. And in that book, he tells all kinds of stories about his life, about his career, about being the son of Marv Albert. And there was one funny story, which I loved, was after Aaron Boone hit his famous home run against the Red Sox, Mayor Bloomberg, after the game, was waiting to be interviewed, but Kenny was already off the air. And Mayor Bloomberg's PR guy said, well, can you fake it? And so Kenny, being the mensch that he is, faked a 5-minute interview at 1 a.m. with Mayor Bloomberg. Pretty impressive.
That is impressive, except the question that has to follow that is, how did Mayor Bloomberg, the mayor at the time, feel when he realized that it was a fake interview?
You know what? I don't know if Mayor Bloomberg has picked up A Mic for All Seasons, but maybe that's when he learned it was a fake interview.
That's a interesting way to learn years later. I will say that. That's a very interesting way to learn, but shout out to Kenny Albert for being a professional and getting the job done there. It feels like something you would have done, Steve. That's what I think. Something I think you would have done. Now,
yeah, and by the way, Marv never pushed Kenny towards this career. He never cared that Kenny followed in the family business, as Kenny calls it, or not. Obviously Marv's brothers were also in the business, Al Albert and Steve Albert, but Marv was there to. Marv did his thing, and Kenny just was a sponge soaking it all up.
Yeah, and he's had quite a career doing it. And considering that he's called both Rangers and Knicks games in his career, you spoke with him in great detail about both teams and their current playoff runs at the moment. What does he think of both the Blue Shirts and the Knickerbockers? And does he think that both teams can have deep runs like they did back in 1994?
Yeah, the spring of '94. Were you born yet, Dex, in '94?
I was born in the spring of '94. I remember that spring very well.
Well, of course, Knicks lose the last 2 games in the NBA Finals to Hakeem the Dream and the Houston Rockets. And, of course, the Rangers winning the Cup.
Yep.
And Kenny Albert did a call for NHL Radio Network, and his call was, say goodbye to the ghosts of 1940, the New York Rangers have won the Stanley Cup. And Kenny remembers the day after the Rangers won the Cup when Mark Messier brought the Cup to center court before during a Knicks game. So, but he thinks there's a good shot that 30 years later, New York can have that kind of spring. He likes the Rangers' goaltending advantage with Shesterkin. He loves Laviolette, who he believes is the right coach at the right time with a winning pedigree and structure and motivation. He thinks the Rangers have the best defensemen 1 through 6. He likes the chemistry, the way the players play for one another, and the way they have something to prove after the way the season ended so disappointingly a year ago. And as for the Knicks, well, he likes them against the Pacers. Obviously, Halliburton's going to be a problem, but he loves Thibodeau. He compares his press conferences to coaching clinics. Anunoby, he says old-time Knicks talked to him about how Anunoby has changed the course of the season the way the DeBusschere trade did back in '69. Josh Hart, another one of Thibodeau's kind of guys, just like Anunoby. Deuce McBride, he believes, can be an X factor. And, of course, the one, the only, Jalen Brunson, who reminds me a little bit of Muhammad Ali in the ring as far as his court sense and his ability to adapt on the fly. Again, Brunson, not the most athletic guy, but a student of the game, embraces New York, loves the big moment, loves the big stage. And the Knicks will beat the Pacers. I do believe that. And setting up a Knicks-Celtics Eastern Conference Finals, boy, that'll be something, huh? That'll have New York humming.
That would be a great New York moment to see the Rangers go deep, maybe to another Stanley Cup, maybe win it all again. Knicks with a deep run to the conference finals or maybe beyond. We can only dream. We'll see. But check out Steve Serby's Q&A with Kenny Albert. It is a good one.
I have to ask. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
You were babbling. You were babbling anyway.
I was babbling.
Which is very rare for you.
Very rare.
Do you see any similarities in Marv's Albert style and Kenny's?
I don't, right? As somebody who is a fan of a lot of different play-by-play broadcasters and does some himself, I don't. And I think that's actually what's pretty unique, Steve. And I think people will learn that from reading your Q&A. But I think if you think of Kenny's work and you look at it and you hear him and you see him on these broadcasts, he didn't mimic his dad. And I think that's unique because there probably was a lot of pressure to do so. There's a lot of pressure on him, but he didn't. He has his own style, and I really appreciate that he's done that. And I'm sure he feels good about that himself as well.
Yeah, he points out that he does not have a catchphrase.
Which I found interesting because his dad is so known for yes, right? He's known for that catchphrase, and he doesn't have one.
No, Kenny just wants to provide the nuts and bolts to the audience, inform and entertain, doing him. Kenny doing Kenny, not Kenny doing Marv. Some people have told him they sound alike and have a similar style. Others have said, no, I don't think so. But read it. Look, get the book. I urge you to get the book. Kenny didn't implore me to give him a plug like this, but it's a great book, A Mic for All Seasons. And, of course, SNY has a Dex for All Seasons.
They do. They do, and they know. They do. They have a Dex for all seasons. And a New York Post, as which we are New York Post family, they have a Steve for all seasons, and that matters. And every week, you can get a Steve Serby Q&A. Every season, you don't know what you're going to get with Steve, which is a good thing, I will say. It's a good thing. Steve, another great edition of Sundays with Serby.
He doesn't even know what he's going to get from Steve.
That's good. That's exciting, I think. It's exciting for you, I think.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
just making sure. Once again, folks, check out Steve's Q&A with Kenny Albert this week. It is a good one. We'll be back next week, next Sunday, with another Sundays with Serby. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Dex. A Dex for all seasons.
All seasons.